Yes, I was with a group of people, and they said a 23-year-old college graduate that they knew, so he's been out in the workforce just a little while, was in the emergency room the other night. He didn't know why. He thought he was dying, and it was a panic attack.
It was a panic attack. I can't think of how many people have said to me in their lives that they thought they were dying and found out it was a panic attack. And it was really very relieving. It is, even though your heart's racing, your breath is accelerating. You know, you can have tingles all through your body. I mean, it's very frightening to have a panic attack, and that's something that I have to honestly say I don't understand where all that comes from.
Yeah.
But other than the fact that somehow it's got to be an accumulation of some kind of traumatic or difficult or unresolvable experiences in life that have just, as I said, accumulated.
Right.
And that we're not even aware of.
Sure. And why do they appear sometimes seemingly out of nowhere?
Out of nowhere, yes. It's the trigger. It's the association. I was just thinking this morning, I had a little bit of not so much panic, but I was like, wow, and it was triggered by a picture that I looked at of growing up. Because I do think childhood, no matter how much we want to say, oh, here we go again with mommy and daddy issues or childhood issues, childhood is highly developmental. Mm-hmm. And there can be a lot of anxiety.
And if it wasn't, ideal, and what childhood is, right? We're all going to have things.
Exactly. We're all going to, but it really does kind of eat at me and break my heart when I hear stories about bullying at school with kids, because that's creating anxiety. What would be the opposite of anxiety? The feeling of safety, the feeling of being at peace, the feeling of serenity, the feeling that all is well.
Let me tell you this. When I was talking the story of the college kid, they took him to the emergency room. The doctors evaluated, discovered it wasn't a heart attack, it wasn't any of those kind of things. They gave him an IV, strictly just fluid, no medicine, but said they gave him medicine, and he was gone.
Really?
Isn't that interesting? So
the placebo effect.
The placebo
effect.
Where does that come from?
I don't know, but if the 23-year-old found it out, I bet he felt a little hot.
I don't know that they ever told him. Maybe they did later, but they just had to bring him down.
Yeah, they had to bring him down and used that. But doesn't that say something again about what are the natural ways to come down?
And that's what I wanted you to discuss.
Well, I mean, we know what they are: deep breathing, looking at the nutrition, getting off the caffeine as much or not having as much, the sodas, exercise. By the way, I'm back on the treadmill.
Oh, good for you.
And I think it's very important.
Why
to do
can't I tell?
like that. Oh!
I'm so teasing. I'm so teasing you. But you lose weight faster than...
My anxiety now has risen. I don't want to even do this segment. I want to go suck it in.
Were you having some anxiety, and that's why you decided to get some exercise, or was it other?
No, I just really believe that it's the greatest antidepressant and anxiety decreasing thing there is.
Yeah, no, good point.
I really do. And I say it to everybody, keep it moving, keep the heart going. But there are some other things too, and that is, the importance of groups and community and even neighborhood affiliation. Whitney, one of the things that I really do think helps anxiety is self-direction and having projects and having service-oriented and having goals and plans, being proactive.
Okay.
So that we are in because remember, part of the anxiety is the uncontrollability. I don't know I'm fearful, but I'm not sure of what I'm fearful of.
Okay.
That's really where anxiety gets its power.
Okay.
When I fear something, it's an object usually, okay? Or if I fear getting in the car after I've been in an accident. Understandable, okay. But anxiety is kind of that unknown, that kind of, again, what if? And it's because we've all had problems.
Sure.
The phone can ring at 3 a.m. and it can throw us into a flashback of something that happened many years ago. But my point is that we need more self-direction and kind of pro-action and saying, I'm doing this now. I'm not going to be that distracted by this anxiety. The other thing, real quick, that is cognitive behavioral therapy has really been proven, and that is simply get in the head and think about where the thought's coming from. I may be feeling anxious, but it very often is because I'm thinking something.
And
I'm thinking, what's the worst that could happen? And so what we do is we play that out. I had a situation just the other day where someone said, oh, I just don't think I could say that to someone. And someone in the group said, well, what are you afraid of? And she said, well, I fear that they'll make me leave the group. You see, that's a thought. I fear that I'm going to be somehow taken out if I'm assertive, so I'm just going to be passive. And it was a great moment of, wow, that's kind of an irrational thought. I'm not going to be thrown out.
Right. Right. My daughter and I were having this conversation, and you came up in the conversation yesterday. We were talking about being direct, and I asked her if she wanted something, and we were driving home, and she said, no, it's okay. And I said, no, but do you really want it? No, but she said, I do struggle sometimes with, I don't want to put people out. So sometimes even if I really wanted it, I wouldn't tell you that. And I said, why? And she said, I just don't want to hurt your feelings, or I don't want to be in imposition. And I played you. I said, what's the worst that could happen? I'm going to think you're demanding. If it's something I can't do, I'll say, that's unreasonable, or sorry, no time. I said, but you know, and I said, I struggle with that. And she said, no, you don't.
Isn't that interesting?
She said, I think you very much say what's you want.
What's on your mind, and what you want, and what you would prefer. And so I paused for a moment, and I said, it's been a long time coming. I remember feeling like you did when you were younger. I said, but luckily, Dr. Nick's a good friend of mine. Absolutely. And you have given a great segue into next week, which we're going to talk about motherhood.
Yes.
And it's another great segue into you may have saved your daughter thousands on therapy.
You think so?
Well, sure.
Good.
By talking about it, by kind of feedbacking. That's a way to take down the anxiety. What's the worst that could happen? Or what is it that you're afraid of? Because fear is real. It's probably the most primitive emotion.
It is.
And so when you can say, well, that's okay. You know, I've been there. Or if I can't give it to you, I'll just say, you know, you can't have it. That was a great moment. That was a great moment.
Thank you.
Yes.
Only because I know you so well. Thanks,
watch
great to
the
see
anxiety.
You.
Good to see you
That's
too.
That's right. And motherhood next week. But we have more Weekends with Whitney coming up after this.
This is my